Shabbat Shalom, Yasharallah. I hope all is well. Check this out. I didn't bring you here on Shabbat to study the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. No, I didn't. Hopefully the mic's working, because you know, if you've heard me say it before, a lot of times when I'm on Google or in Wikipedia, the mic won't work, and I'll be recording all this for nothing. But I'm pretty sure it's working right now. The reason you're seeing this Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn Wikipedia is this extremely intriguing information that I've just stumbled upon. I came to this Wikipedia page, Hermetic Order of the Dawn. I was looking at, I'm trying to think, it was like, I was looking at more like hexagram stuff, you know, looking into the image of the beast and all that stuff even more. And I've seen in other articles and stuff the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn mentioned, and let me tell you right now, what I'm about to tell you has nothing to do with her. I don't think it has anything to do with the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I want to show you how I found what I found, and I think that you'll agree that it's very intriguing. So yeah, I was looking at different stuff, and I was looking through here, and you know, you can see all the purple ones are the stuff, the links I clicked on. And as I was looking through here, I seen this one right here. It says geomancy in the middle of the screen right there, that purple word. However you say that. Geomancy, whatever. And me being me, I seen the geo, and that made me think of like what I've been talking about, like the image of the beast, like creating false realities and all this stuff. And so I clicked on it, and then I'm reading through it, and it didn't take me long to feel like it was a dead end, you know, because I seen that it's just some kind of magic that these morons play with. They throw sand or whatever, and they draw figures in the dirt or something. It sounds crazy to me. But as I was looking down through here, and I was searching for any evidence, like I often do, for like tearing down landmarks and you know, evidence that will point out more proof, you know, more evidence that will point out the fact that history has been altered. I think I heard a quote from Napoleon one time. He said that history is a lie agreed upon. And I've found and shared plenty of proof, evidence that would validate that statement. But you know, the masses, they don't want to believe it. But check this out. I'm looking here through all this nonsense, looking around, and I come down. I think it's way down here. Yeah. Way down here. I see earth mysteries. Let me read a little bit. Geomancy can cover any spiritual, metaphysical, or pseudoscientific practice that is related to the earth. In recent times, the term has been applied to a wide range of other occult and fringe activities, including earth mysteries and the introduction of key ley lines and bow boogaloo. But when I seen that earth mystery, I was like, let me see what that is. And that word I just read right there, metaphysical, you may have heard me mention that a couple of times in the last few videos. That metaphysical is what those Gnostic movies that I showed y'all that are about the image of the beast, the dual realities, duality, they are referred to as metaphysical fiction. But look, I clicked on this earth mystery, and this is where I want to bring you. I want to read some of this to you, and you be the judge. Earth mysteries are a wide range of spiritual, quasi-religious ideas focusing on cultural and religious beliefs about the earth, generally with a regard for specific geographic locations of historic importance. Now, y'all may know all about this stuff. You may have heard this. I have never. That's why I'm sharing it with you. I've never seen any of this stuff. I mean, there's things in this article, in this Wikipedia page that I've seen, that I've actually shared, that I've dug into a little bit. But like earth mysteries and some of the stuff like this alternative archaeology, I'd never heard that phrase, that term before. So if you have, I apologize. But even if you have, if you're a true truth seeker like myself, you understand that there's always time, opportunity to learn. That if you're like myself, you know, because I know I'm an epic dumbass, and I don't know, I know very little, and there's all kinds of information and understanding out there for me to gain. So, religious beliefs about the earth, generally with a regard for specific geographic locations of historic importance. Similar to modern Druidry, prehistoric monuments are of particular spiritual importance to believers in earth mysteries who consider certain locations to be sacred and or containing active spiritual energies. The term alternative archaeology has also been used to describe the study of earth mystery beliefs. And just when I clicked on earth mysteries, I was thinking, bingo, I found something. But then after reading like that first paragraph, I started to lose hope, and I got thinking, well, this was another dead end too, but good thing I kept reading. The study of ley lines originates in the 1920s with Alfred Watkins. The term earth mysteries for the field of interest was coined about 1970 in the lay hunter, or actually, see, this is more proof of me being a total epic dumbass. No, I clicked on alternative archaeology. I didn't read. When I clicked on it, like right here, it brought me to this page. This is where I wanted to bring you. My bad. I get a little excited and a little ahead of myself sometimes, and it happens. So, however you say that word, pseudoarcheology, also known as alternative archaeology, fringe archaeology, fantastic or cult archaeology, and spooky archaeology, is the interpretation of the past by people who are not professional archaeologists. I can't even say that tonight for some reason. Sometimes it just rolls right off the tongue. Other times it's like slamming my tongue in the door. This is the interpretation of the past by people who are not professional dumbasses, who reject or ignore the accepted data gathering and analytical methods of the discipline. These pseudo-scientific interpretations involve the use of artifacts, sites, or materials to construct scientifically insubstantial theories to strengthen the pseudo-archaeologist's claims. Methods include, this is their methods: exaggeration of evidence, dramatic or romanticized conclusions, use of fallacy, and fabrication of evidence. So I don't know if you're like me about this too, but can you usually tell whether or not Google and Wikipedia is in favor of a certain subject or certain people? Like right away, I know I can. Usually I can tell within the first minute of reading something. I can tell whether they are promoting it and they're all about it, and usually that means that it's a bunch of rubbish, that it is actual fabrication. And I can always tell when they don't want something to be deemed as credible. They use all kinds of words like exaggeration of evidence and fallacy and fabrication of evidence when they want to disprove something. That guy, Eric von Daniken and Graham Hancock, you may have seen Graham Hancock on the Joe Rogan podcast. I've seen him on there quite a few times, and let me tell you, he's full of doo-doo. Everything I've seen him talk about, I guarantee you he gets paid from he either gets paid directly from the what's the name of that museum in Washington, D.C.? I've been there a couple times. I can't think of it right now. You know what I'm talking about. He either gets paid directly from them or he gets paid from the same people that pay them. And the name of it will come to me eventually. There is not any unified pseudo-archaeological theory or method, but rather Smithsonian. That's what it is. He probably gets paid either from or with the Smithsonian. There's not any unified pseudo-archaeology method or theory or method, but rather many different interpretations of the past that are jointly at odds with those developed by the scientific community. These include religious philosophies such as creationism or creation science that apply to the archaeology of historic periods, such as those that would have included the supposed worldwide flood myth. See? The Genesis flood narrative, Noah's Ark, and the Tower of Babel. Some pseudo-archaeological theories concern the idea that prehistoric and ancient human societies were aided in their development by intelligent extraterrestrial life. And you can see how the way they word this, stuff like this, it immediately causes anyone who has no faith, they only have faith in science, like Steven from Nacho Libre. You should be able to see how someone who isn't looking for the truth and for the Most High, when they read something like this, they'll dismiss it and be like, yeah, see, them guys were lying. They think aliens assisted them. You see what I'm saying? But if you go back and read those Wikipedia pages, that led me to this one, that were about the golden dawn of Hermeticism and all that kind of crap. And you see how outlandish some of the claims that those Wikipedia pages are making. You'll also notice how Google and whoever made that Wikipedia page is 100% behind all that clear fiction. You can tell that the stuff they're saying is no doubt fabrication, and they promote it, and they'll tell you how it's all 100% fact. But this stuff, they want you to know that you shouldn't believe it. They probably made this page just to because if they didn't, then that would totally point out that they're a bunch of frauds. So they had to make something about it so they can say, see, yeah, we talked about it and quickly disproved it. Some I'm not going to say that, theories can concern the idea that, I just read that part, my bad. An idea propagated by those such as Italian author Peter whoever, French authors, that guy and those people, and Swiss author Eric von Däniken in Chariots of the Gods. Others instead argue that there were human societies in the ancient period that were significantly technologically advanced, such as Atlantis, and that this idea has been propagated by some people such as Graham Hancock in his publication Fingerprints of the Gods. And just back up there, they were telling you that some of the stuff he was talking about, that he was pointing out that this alternative archaeology stuff is rubbish. But yet he made a book called The Fingerprint of the Gods. He has this young Dryas theory or whatever that don't even make sense. Makes no sense. So let me get down through here to some of the actual meat of the article here. Etymology. So they're right here. They're telling you that, watch how they do this. They're not slick with it one bit, and it would take an absolute moron to believe this narrative. Lack of scientific method is this part of the article, and notice who they associate it with. Those guys right there. I gotta get my pen back out here. These guys. So that right there would make anybody who's on the fence kind of not want to mess with it. Those guys, for instance, used the cultural superiority of the ancient Aryan race as a basic assumption, whilst Christian fundamentalists, pseudoarcheologists, conceive of the earth as being less than 10,000 years old. Opposition to the archaeological establishment. And so I think I clicked on that skeptical society, and that was more people trying to debunk what this is. I didn't click on that CSICOP, but I'll put a link in the description for this, and go check it out. I hope you do. I'm not holding my breath though. Widespread conspiracy to hide the truth. Here we go. Let me read this part. They often use language which disparages academics and dismisses them as being unadventurous. spending all their time in dusty libraries and refusing to challenge the orthodoxies of the establishment, lest they lose their jobs. Yeah, that makes sense. In some more extreme examples, these guys have accused academic archaeologists of being members of a widespread conspiracy to hide the truth about history from the public. Now, that's straight up tinfoil hat wearing stuff there, huh? Now, I've never seen those words on Google or anything like that, where people, where it's even mentioned that there's a possibility, or it's never mentioned that someone said that it's a possibility, that a whole network of these people. And let me tell you right now, like I said a minute ago, they wouldn't have made this Wikipedia page if it wasn't for the reason of them understanding that if they didn't, then it would totally look like they were trying to hide something. And like I said, you probably know, just like I do, when you start reading the Wikipedia page, you can see what's true and what ain't. You can tell what they're trying to cover up and what they're trying to promote. It's not rocket science. When academics challenge those guys and criticize their theories, many of those guys claim it as further evidence that their own ideas are right and that they are simply being harassed by members of this academic conspiracy. And right here, look, it says the prominent English archaeologist Colin Renfrew he did admit that the archaeological establishment was often set in its ways and resistant to radical new ideas, but that this was not the reason why those guys' theories were rejected by academics. So, and they always do that too. They play, devil's advocate for a brief moment in time, or however you would say that they make it appear like they're that this is an honest inquiry here, that they're actually reporting the truth, by admitting some things once in a while. It's ridiculous. And basically all this is just them discrediting these, whatever you want to call them, pseudo-archaeologists or whatever. I mean, right here, they threw these guys in here again. But you're going to see the main thing that they're clearly trying to get out in front of, or they were when they made this. And you can see here there's mention of mound builder culture, Welsh Indians, and they always go back to like they throw in aliens or those guys from Germany that I just circled to discredit all of this. But notice this paragraph here. A more specific example of religious pseudo-archaeology is the claim of Ron Wyatt to have discovered Noah's Ark, the graves of Noah and his wife, the location of Sodom and Gomorrah and the Tower of Babel, and numerous other important sites. However, he has not presented evidence sufficient to impress Bible scholars. See, when they're mentioning that Bible scholars haven't been impressed. That the only reason they mention Ron Wyatt here is to throw you off the trail, maybe make you think that, yeah, Ron Wyatt, because look, the truth is not going to be broadcast and advertising companies, people, millionaires and billionaires, they're not going to want to support someone speaking the actual truth, especially that could lead to people, someone's salvation. They're not gonna play along with that sort of thing. If you haven't noticed, lies and deception and chaos and corruption is the name of their game. So the fact, and this is one example that I can share with you of how I was hoodwinked and had the veil pulled right down over my face, was I used to watch Ron Wyatt documentaries that was on like the History Channel and the Discovery Channel, and I used to tell people about it. I used to show it to people about how he found Mount Sinai and Noah's Ark and all this stuff. Why was it, how come it is that the Smithsonian didn't show up to eradicate all that evidence that Ron Wyatt found? But it was actually allowed to make it to the History Channel and, you know, Ancient Aliens and stuff. But you'll see that anytime a giant skeleton's found, or mounds, or something that you can clearly see is not what they're claiming, you hear nothing about it unless it's an article to debunk it. Description. Okay. So yeah, I 100% believe that the Ron Wyatt stuff is staged, just like all the rest of it is staged. You know, they even staged a shootout with Ron Wyatt. They pretended that the Saudi Arabia or whoever was shooting at them when they were trying to climb up Mount Sinai, and that there's a big fence around Mount Sinai out in the middle of nowhere. And you could clearly see, now looking back, it's a joke. And here's all kinds of examples of nationalistic motivation that you can look at. But all these, whatever you look at, you can tell that they don't want you to believe it. And like right here, here's what I wanted to bring you to. The Lost Decalogue Stone. If you don't know about that, I've mentioned this plenty of times in videos before. So before we read this, just think about how these guys operate and what I've been trying to give you examples of. They'll tell you that Aleister Crowley could spit in his hands and slap a tree and it would turn into Shrek, basically. I mean, I'm not too far off from the kind of things that they promote. But watch how they describe this Los Lunas Decalogue Stone. The Los Lunas Decalogue Stone is a large boulder on the side of Hidden Mountain near Los Lunas, New Mexico, about 35 miles south of Albuquerque. that bears a 9-line inscription carved into a flat panel. The stone is also known as the Los Lunas Mystery Stone or Commandment Rock. The stone is controversial in that some claim the inscription is pre-Columbian, how dare them, and therefore proof of early Semitic contact with the Americas. And a lot of those claims that people claiming the authenticity of this rock, they didn't say that it was evidence of contact. They said it was evidence of this being their home. The first recorded mention of the stone is in 1933 when Professor Frank Hibben, an archaeologist, I swear I can't say that name, from the University of New Mexico saw it. According to a 1996 interview, Hibben was convinced the inscription is ancient and thus authentic. He reported that he first saw the text in 1933. At the time, it was covered with lichen and patination and was hardly visible. He claimed it was taken to the site by a guide who claimed he had seen it as a boy back in the 1880s. However, Hibben's testimony is tainted by charges that in at least 2 separate incidences, he fabricated some or all of his archaeological, oh my gosh, I'll give up on that word, data to support his pre-Clovis migration theory. The reported 1880s date of discovery is important to those who believe that the stone is pre-Columbian. However, the Paleo-Hebrew script, which is closely related to the Phoenician script, was known to scholars by at least 1870, thus not precluding the possibility of a modern hoax. Because of the stone's weight, over 80 tons. That's what you need to keep in mind. Over 80 tons. Because of the stone's weight of over 80 tons, it was never moved to a museum or laboratory for study and safekeeping. Many visitors have cleaned the stone inscriptions over the years, likely destroying any possibility for scientific analysis of the inscription's patina, whatever that is. Nevertheless, comparing it to a modern inscription nearby, geologist George E. Morehouse, a colleague of Barry Fell, estimated that the inscription could be between 500 and 2,000 years old, and explaining its freshness and lack of patina as being due to frequent scrubbing to make it more visible. In April of 2006, the first line of the unprotected inscription was obliterated by vandals. Visitors to the site are required to purchase a $35 recreational access permit from the New Mexico State In-Law Office. Well, I wonder why that would be. Controversy. I bet you can go out and look at some monument that these people have made that will tell you that Columbus is the one that discovered the Americas. I bet you ain't got to pay $35 to go see that. Whatever that word is, I'm not going to try. Cyrus Gordon has proposed that stone is a Samaritan mezuzah. The familiar Jewish mezuzah is a tiny scroll placed in a small container mounted by the entrance to a house. The ancient Samaritan mezuzah, on the other hand, was commonly a large stone slab placed by the gateway to a property or synagogue and bearing an abridged version of the Decalogue. On historical and epigraphic grounds, Gordon regards the Byzantine period, oh, there's some Byzantine people again, as the most likely for the inscription. So I'm not going to read all this to you. I'll put the link in the description here. But I have this article saved. I made videos about it like 3 years ago. And somewhere in this article, it says that they believe, they want you to believe that someone hauled that stone out there as a hoax, that someone placed it there. It's over 80 tons. That they placed it there, and they wrote the commandments on there to make people think that this is Israel. They claim it in this article. And I remember back then reading that thinking, why would someone go through all the trouble why would they want to make people believe that this is Yasharal? That should make no sense to anyone, to no one. So you can clearly see what the narrative, the agenda is behind all this stuff. And look right here. I don't know why my little pin bubble's not staying out. Here is mention of the Bat Creek stone. Suggests that it was a Mormon forgery. And that's another thing. They try to act like the Mormons are forging stuff to make people believe this is Israel. None of them believe that. They'll laugh harder than the secular people will laugh at you, or the Christians. The Mormons will. They don't believe that this land is the set apart land. They believe that it's the new, that it's going to be made into the set apart land, and it's been given to them by Jesus. And that he told their buddy, I hate to say it for sure, but it's looking like he was probably a pedophile. They're saying that Jesus and this angel gave him gold tablets and said that out here is where the new kingdom will be established, that his kingdom will be set up. And I see, I've given so much thought to that, and I've talked to him. I work for him all the time, different ones, and I got a buddy that I talk to every once in a while. He's a Mormon, and him and his buddy tried to. They approached me in Rockford, Illinois, when I was doing some work for a family in the front yard, and I thought they were Jehovah's Witnesses, but they were Mormons, and they tried to, do their thing with me, and they even invited me out to their LDS church, and I went out there and let son play basketball in the gymnasium while I went into the little library, and they tried to school me. Happened a couple times. So I've given it a lot of thought as to why would the Mormons, because clearly the story that they have is, like, how anybody could believe that stuff, it's beyond me. You might as well believe that Jack and the Beanstalk was real. And hey, maybe it was, I don't know, but it's the stuff they say is far-fetched. But I've wondered, well, why would they come here? And the more evidence I find that proves that this is Yerushalayim, the more evidence I find of that, the more it sheds light on the possibility that they just gathered information from other people in the past who ran across the truth of what this place is, and they wrote about it, they put it on maps, I've shared it, but more importantly, I do believe that, for one, they were sent here by the enemy to profane this place with all their LDS temples and cover it up. But like I always say, everything's done by Abba ultimately. He's the one that counsels all this stuff, regardless. The destroyer, Satan, the sovereign of Ashur, yes, he's the destroyer, so is Babel, but guess whose hand those things are in? They're in the Most High's. He's the one using them to destroy and do the things he does. So I can obviously see that having the Mormons come here and pretty much take over this whole area. It has preserved, it's preserved it in ways that, if, you know, I'm a traveler. I've been all over the country, basically, except for the West Coast, all out in the East Coast, down south, up north, and I know that if Jerusalem would have been in Wisconsin or Texas or Florida, it would be demolished. It would be horrible. There's so many, there's good positives that come from the Mormons being here. And I've read about them in the scripture, and I do know they'll get the boot, and the day is coming, fastly approaching, where they're going to be evicted from this place. And I've seen evidence out here, real life evidence of that taking place myself with my own two eyes. But because, like I've said this before, but just check this out. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not too much different than the next guy. When I work for myself. When I'm out working on a hot day, I like to stop at like a tavern and have me lunch and drink me a beer if I want to. There's no bars here. If there is, it's something weird, and I think I've seen 3 in the whole state since I've been here. Now there's restaurants, you know, like all these chains. Like you could go to Chili's and there's a bar in there, but you can only have 2 drinks, or is it 3, per like every 2 hours. And once you get to 3, you can't have any more. There's no lottery here. And like I was saying, I like to have a beer, but it's a good thing that there's no bars wide open on a Friday, like tonight, Saturday night, Friday night. There's no chaos. There's not a bunch of thugs running up and down the streets. And I've been from the bottom to the top of Jerusalem, side to side, and it's all the same. There's some areas that are kind of sketchy, but compared to all the other places I've been to, this is like, it's like where the adults live when it comes to littering and lottery and bars, and there's no strip joints here. You ain't gonna drive down Salt Lake City and see prostitutes walking up and down the street, or crack houses, or you're not going to see that. It's not here. So no doubt that the Most High used the Mormons. You know, he might have used the enemy to tell them some fairy tales to get them to come here. However it went down, but no doubt it was counseled by the Most High. And like I said, I work for him all the time. I'm on the ground out here looking at this stuff face to face, and there is no evidence to debunk that this is Jerusalem. I mean, after a while, when the evidence starts piling up and you can no longer you have to believe. I mean, you see the truth in something, you can't there's no turning back. And every day the Most High fills me with evidence and proof of who isn't, what place isn't Jerusalem, and what people aren't Yasharal, and tons and tons and tons of evidence of who is Yerushalayim and Yasharal. So if anyone that hears me thinks that I'm trying to reach, or I'm on some kind of hunt to try to prove something, a theory that I've made or claim that I've made just to validate myself, or to avoid looking stupid, you're nowhere near truth. I could care less about any of that. If I found out tomorrow that this was a hoax, I would tell you. Is it going to be great? No, but I'll come tell you. Could I not continue to scream from the mountaintops of all this hard evidence that I found, hard evidence that from the word of the Most High that says you have to find this place, and that it's the only safety, the only escape? Could I just, not share the news at all? Am I that type of person? No. Could I just go by and, make a video here and there to talk about it? No. I'm positive that this was the reason I was born, was to do this. And that's not just some fairy tale pipe dream. I've got all the hard evidence that says that that's a fact. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let's take the Most High. To further my point that I was just trying to make, that most people, they think I'm on some wild goose chase, and that I'm just reaching and grabbing anything I can throw at the wall in hopes that it will stick. And they couldn't be furthest from the truth. That going out on a limb such as this is the last thing I would want to do. And if there was any part of me that wasn't certain of all this being fact, I would make sure to mention it. If you notice, anytime in my video when I bring up something or I mention something that seems legit to me and no doubt will should be at least acknowledged, if there's any doubt at all, if I see anything that doesn't prove to me, like I'm from Missouri, that there might be some that it might not be 100% true, I always make sure to mention that. It's funny too that I brought this matter up just now, because today I was thinking about what the state of mind, the state of the minds of the believers today, and the stuff that they talk about, and I was wanting to make a post. And I didn't, because I didn't want I wasn't trying to start a big uproar or make it look like I was trying to be a jerk or nothing, but I wanted to make a post that said what I hear when I hear the majority of believers talking today. And I was going to put in parentheses, I was going to say, or in quotations, I was going to say, I was going to make it like a comment, like I was saying what the whoever it was, the Pharisee or whatever, that the Messiah was talking to when Messiah told the man, whoever, he said that we have to be born again. And that guy said, born again? You mean we would have to go back in our mother's womb and come back out and be born again? Or I was going to put bread from heaven. Man, that sounds good. Is that like a rye bread, or you think it would go good with peanut butter and jelly? Because that's the way it looks to me. You know, I'm sure I would have worded it a little better than the way I just said it, but basically that's what it sounds like when the believers are talking about Scripture today. And why it's funny that I just said what I said. Last night, I was reading Luke, and I came across verse 29, where he talks about the sign of Jonah. And I just had to know what he was talking about. I've thought about it in the past when I've read this verse a couple times, but I never really went digging to see what it was. And when he said that about them people there in that generation, he would say it in today's generation. It would be more warranted today. I'm positive. So I did make a post on Facebook that asked the question. I said, what do y'all think? How many people do you think would have followed Messiah, left their boats, their job, whatever? How many do you think would have followed him like they did if he never performed one miracle? No loaves of bread, no fish, no wine, turning water into wine, no calming the storm, none of that stuff. If all he did was say the things he said, the things that they said was too hard to hear, that they couldn't understand, that it drove them nuts, that he said that he used the figures of speech, the language, the way he did. Did he stop using figures of speech? No. And I've showed you he increased it. And somewhere, a place in Ezekiel that you can go and you can read about that and you can understand why it is he did that, is where it mentions the man with the writer's inkhorn. And I've talked about this before. That's one thing that I mean, it's something that's gave me so much excitement and so much it took away so much doubt of what I'm doing, what I've been trying to do here on All Esteem. Because I'm not, as you can tell, I'm sure, I'm not an educated man. I'm not a scholar. I don't have degrees. I've been outside in the sun laying blacktop or swinging a hammer my whole life. I didn't graduate high school. I got a GED. I can't say the word archaeology. See, I can't even say it. So before I found the thing about the writer's inkhorn, there was a lot of times where I documented it. I wanted to give up. I was like, man, you know what? Because there's so much pushback. There's so much, people dismiss the things I say so much, and there's very little support or encouragement. There is encouragement, and I'm thankful for that. Thank you for whoever encourages me. Hallelujah. And may Abba bless you richly. But before I found out what the writer's inkhorn was, I really had a lot of doubt. And that's because even more so back in my earlier days when I first started this channel, I used to cut loose. I used to act a fool on here and do all kinds of crazy stuff, sing and just carry on like a damn fool. And I always talk the way I do now. I've toned it down quite a bit, actually. But, I used to just let her rip, tater chip. and before I found out about the writer's inkhorn, I would get thinking, man, like, look at how I talk. And, these people, I can't break it down scientifically for you guys and say the just the right words and stuff to explain it in a way that is easy for the listener to digest. I can't. And what I've learned now since finding out about the writer's inkhorn that I didn't know back then is that is exactly how the Messiah did it. That's why he often said, lest they hear and be saved, be healed. They and when I say they, these people who can't understand what you're saying, it doesn't matter how you say it, they don't want to listen. They're there for the bread, the miracles. I really do, I have a hard time imagining him having much of a following had he not performed all those miracles. So I understand one reason why he had to do the things he did. And that was because if he didn't, just think about it, if he didn't, we wouldn't be talking about it right now. We might not see the words that he spoke written with the pen like it is. So I understand that, and I understand that in today's time, why it's probably necessary that we're not out healing people like that. Because, it's hard enough to find sincerity in the world, just being, just talking, just being you. If you're rich, you can't tell who really wants to be your friend, who really loves you, who's really loyal. It's like that old saying, you find out who your friends are when you are moving or you're in jail. You think you got all kinds of friends until one of those two things is happening, and then you quickly realize that you really ain't got no friends. So yeah, I'm thankful for the encouragement and the little support I do get. Hallelujah. But it's like what I'm about to talk about right now, it really has nothing to do with what I was ranting on here in the first 40 minutes of this video. I just wanted to show you what I found in Wikipedia about the Earth mysteries or whatever. And there'll be so many people that'll hear me stuttering and unable to say the word archaeology, and they'll turn this video off. And so some, or maybe a lot of people would say, well, you know, maybe you shouldn't have talked about that. Just get straight to the point and you know, appease these people. Do whatever you got to do so they'll understand. But I'm here to tell you that I'm believing more and more every day as each day goes by that if someone is going to find the truth, they're searching for the truth. They're going to find it. And most people are looking for reasons to bitch and leave and gossip. They're not looking for evidence to enrich their faith. They're not looking for proof about certain subjects. Christians, for example. How many Christians do you see routinely talk about telling people to come out of Babylon? How often do you see that? And at the same time, they're swimming, they're backstroking in Babylon, in a sea of it. So they're talking about Babylon, but do they even know what Babylon is? They obviously don't. Or they're either full of shit regarding whatever it as far as whatever they're talking about, because they're lying and they're trying to deceive you, which does happen, especially from the those in the authority positions. But these people that are out here talking about Babylon and have no idea that they're swimming in it, how much research did they actually do to find out about what they were talking about before they started running their mouth? They didn't. They couldn't even looked, because I don't think it would take anyone very long at all if you were really wanting to know who Babylon was and what it means to be in Babylon, so you could come out, so you knew for sure that you weren't in it. It wouldn't take anyone long at all to realize that all these holidays, all these names, all this stuff it's Babylon. But so many people talk about coming out of Babylon and they're eyeball deep in it. So once I learned about the writer's inkhorn and the man having the writer's inkhorn, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not. Do you honestly think that the Messiah was someone like these Christians today that would walk up and say, "Can I pray for you? I think God's He's put it on my heart to that you're feeling down, you know? Did someone in your family just pass away recently? and no sort. Is that? Do you think that that's how Messiah sounded? No, I'm almost positive that he would use. He sounded like he was being an asshole a lot of times when he changed the tone of his voice to mimic what someone else might say or how they'd say. I guarantee you, and I can prove it to you that that's the case. and check this out. In where the writer's inkhorn is mentioned in Ezekiel, it says that the man with the dressed in linen with the writer's inkhorn came to the city, and there was, I think, 6 other men with him, and the Most High told him and the men following him with the battle axes to go in and destroy the city. But before they did, that the man with the writer's inkhorn had to go through the city and seal the forehead of anyone who, any man that was, that loved the Most High, that was really about that life, that was actually somebody that was going to be saved out of that town, and the rest to just kill. So when you read all that, and you start to dig into what that writer's inkhorn means and why it was so significant, and why there was such a need for the Most High to point that out, that he had a writer's inkhorn, it's for what I'm talking about right now. It separates the real from the fake. My language, yes, it's not. Never has it been meant to tickle your ear. I kind of do enjoy it sometimes when I know that your ear is probably sore, and you're probably holding it, grimacing in pain. I really do. And through all the rough edges and my figures of speech and my tone of voice and the way I sound and the way I say things, in a sea of all that, there's been plenty of monumental, groundbreaking revelations of truth, of nuggets, life-saving nuggets that will set you free indeed. They're all weaved in, and there's all kinds of them weaved in and out of all my content. And I used to think all the time, I still do. I still get thinking like, well, maybe I could have said it. No. Because that principle is the same principle that the Most High and the Messiah has used throughout any of the scripture. It separates the wheat from the chaff. Because most people, the Most High knows this, and the Messiah too, that most people are there to discredit you, talk shit, gossip, put hands on you, kill you, rob you, steal. That's what they're there to do. So, and you can point them out quick because they can't stand the way you're saying something. They don't take 2 seconds to hear you out. And it happens damn near every day to me. I put that video about with the title "Mirror, Mirror" on the wall, and for you who've been around listening to what I've been saying, you know what that video is about mainly. I shared that in some Facebook groups, and I had a guy come on there in the comment, and he said, there is no mirror, and Mirrors are just blah, blah, blah. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. So by judging from what he said, I'm pretty sure that he thought I was promoting or, talking about like metaphysical stuff, like astral plane, blah, blah, blah. I'm positive that's what he thought. And I tried the first couple comments. I tried to like explain to him what the video was actually about. And he didn't care, and he blocked me like that, because there's no, you can't, those type of people, they have the room to learn, but they don't exercise their ability, that muscle that allows you, your brain, that allows you to learn things that you didn't know nothing about. And look, all them people, most people, they think that I'm reaching, and that I don't have a clue about what I'm talking about, and then I'm just trying to make things up, and they see, like I do, that I'm not the educated, someone who's educated, who can put together, top tier content. And they see that, and they wonder, and they'll even say it like, why, they basically can't figure out why I don't just give up. Why do I keep doing this? And that right there, that's the reason why the Messiah told them people, and he's telling them people, that today's people, that they'll get nothing but the sign of Jonah. Watch. Right here, verse 26, or verse 27. And it came to be, as he was saying this, a certain woman from the crowd raised her voice and said to him, Blessed is the womb that bore you, and the breast which you sucked. But he said, Blessed rather are those hearing the word of the Most High and watching over it. So do you see? And look, if you need any more proof about all words 1,000,000,000% necessary, look no further than right here, 27 and 28. This lady come up and said, Blessed is your mom for having given birth to you, because you're the Messiah, doing all these miracles and everything. And that had held, that in no way was comparable to the Messiah, to someone that can hear the word and that watches over it. And while the crowds were thronging, he began to say, This generation is wicked. It seeks a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of Jonah the prophet. For as Jonah became a sign to the Ninevites, so also the son of Adam shall be to this generation. He's the one with the writer's inkhorn. He's the reason when I'm quoting from him and I'm following him, being led wherever he leads me, the people put up the biggest fight. They can't stand it. They want nothing to do with it. The sovereignness of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the men of this generation and shall condemn them. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And look, a greater than Solomon is here. The men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And look, a greater than Jonah is here. And no one, when he has a lit lamp, puts it in a hidden place or under a basket, but on a lampstand, that those who come in shall see the light. The lamp of the body is the eye. Therefore, when your eye is good, all your body also is enlightened. But when your eye is evil, your body also is darkened. When you see someone talking about something on wherever, Facebook, on the sidewalk, on YouTube, wherever, and your only intentions or your most driving motivation is to say, yeah, you're full of shit, I don't believe what you're saying, you'll always come to that conclusion. It's going to be hard for the truth to make its way in past your bulletproof wall, basically, to get into you. That seed that needs to be planted in the fertile soil, it is going to have a difficult time being planted in you. But when your eye is looking for the truth, and your eye, you're coming from a place of understanding, which is of love. And you understand that people mess up. People, some people can't sound like a philosopher. Some people have a hard time sharing the truth. Someone might know one little piece of life-saving truth, but they place it in the middle of what sounds like a bunch of nonsense. Some people might know that. I know that. And I'm the type of person that I'll swim through all that nonsense, and I'm willing to have a migraine headache. I'm willing to be kicked in the nuts to get to that truth and more. I understand that there's going to be people saying things that I don't agree with, that aren't true. I understand that. But these people who don't understand that, who think that you're supposed to have it right all the time, and that expect you to sound like a philosopher while you softly stroke their hair and comfort them, those people, they're never going to hear the truth. That's why you got to continue on. And the writer's inkhorn, what a writer's inkhorn is, it's a term. It's how you speak. It's figures of speech. It's words of emphasis, strong emphasis. I talk about it quite often. It's like when I tell my son that I'm going to put my boot up his ass, which I never have, but I say it quite often. And I only use it when he needs to get the memo. And when I say that and I raise my eyebrows and look at him when I say it, it puts the fear in him, and needless to say, I don't have to warn him anymore. If I just look over and say, son, will you stop that? He might do that when I'm wanting him to stop doing 20 more times. But when he hears the boot up the ass, it changes his whole attitude, his whole demeanor. And he knows he's never had it. I've never kicked him, but he sure is afraid of it. And could I really put my boot up his ass? No. But that figure of speech puts the right amount of emphasis, the right kind of emphasis on the point I'm trying to get across to him. And what it accomplishes is what all that softly stroking and gentle speech I was using before that, what it couldn't accomplish. So I know that's how Messiah talked. See to it, therefore, that the light which is in you is not darkness. If then all your body is enlightened, having no part dark, all shall be enlightened as when the bright shining of a lamp gives you light. And as he spoke, a certain Pharisee asked him to dine with him. So he went in and sat down to eat. Hold on. Right, like right here, the Pharisee, okay, I'll read this, but I'm going to move on. But 39, it says, and the master said to him, now you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and dish clean, but your inward part is filled with greed and wickedness. Mindless ones. Mindless. Did not he who made the outside make the inside also? So, I don't know where most of these quote-unquote believers got the idea from that makes them think that Messiah walked around like these Christians do. Wherever they heard that. Well, they probably heard that from the same place they heard all the other monumental falsehoods. But it's not the case, I assure you. Good, look right here. Right here. Chapter 16 of Matthew, verse 1. And the Pharisees said, and the Sadducees, and the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and trying him, asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. And he answering said to them, when it is evening, you say, fair weather, for the heaven is red. And in the morning, stormy weather today, John, for the heaven is red and overcast. You know how to discern the face of the heaven, but you are unable to discern the sign of the times. He had no problem telling people how it was. He didn't care if they didn't understand what he was talking about. If that was the case, he would have never said things like, I'm the bread that comes down out of heaven. Why confuse people? Because they were already confused, and it was self-inflicted. They didn't want to hear. They were wanting him to do the old abracadabra and make more bread pop out in front of them. But what he was trying to convey, the message he was trying to convey, was what they really needed to hear. But guess what? They refused it. They didn't want to hear it. So why did he say he wants to give them the sign of Jonah? You probably know the story of Jonah, but for those who don't, just in case there's someone who doesn't, the Most High told Jonah to go to the town of Nineveh and proclaim, like warn them that they have like 30 days or whatever to repent of all the wicked crap they were doing, or he was going to destroy the city. And Jonah he wanted no part of it. He said, no, man, I'm not going. Are you crazy? You know who Nineveh is? Like, I'm not going to tell them that. So he got in a boat and went in the opposite direction. And a storm came, and the people he were on the boat with threw him over the side, and a big fish, a whale or whatever, swallowed him up. And he was in the fish for 3 days, and it spit him out onto the beach. And he realized he was thankful to be alive, and he decided he was going to, he eventually decided to go to Nineveh. And when he went to Nineveh, he told them what the Most High told him to tell him, and they repented. They didn't throw put up the fight that he thought that they would. And because he told them that, Nineveh was spared. But the key part here is, after that, he went out and he sat down on the ground outside of the town, and he turned around to watch the city, and in anticipation that the Most High was going to burn it down. He wanted to see what happened, what the Most High was about to do to Nineveh. And the Most High made a plant sprout up beside of him, and it growed right up over him in one night and provided shade from the blistering heat for his little head. And he was just thrilled to death that the Most High did that for him. And then, after like a day, the Most High gave that plant a worm and caused it to kill that plant, and it withered up and died within a day. And Jonah flipped out. And he told the Most High, he said he wanted to die. He was feeling suicidal. He said, I'd just soon just die. And he said, why? He said, did that plant really, are you really ready to die because the plant died? But yet you're sitting here ready to see me smite this whole city of Nineveh? These people that have a problem with what the things I say, and they don't have it within them to subject themselves to my content to get a life-saving nugget of truth. If they can't stoop that low to do it, they would never stoop that. They would spit in the Messiah's face. They are only seeing violence towards the kingdom, the reign, and gossip and strife and grief. And all the interacting they do regarding the scripture, and they engage all day in conversations. They could have heard the news, like for an example, they could have heard what the Most High showed us about who the image of the beast is, and it could possibly save their lives, and they could go proclaim it to other people, and it could possibly save their lives. Those people could be working for the kingdom, but instead, they'll get mad over something in the background, a noise, and they'll refuse to find that pearl of truth, that great pearl that they could use, that they could, like those talents, that they could actually bring an increase to the kingdom. They'll refuse to do that on account of something that means nothing. If someone can't understand figure of speech, especially after you've broke it down for them a couple times, it's not that they can't, they don't want to. They want it nice and soft and sweet. They want that feather pulled out, and they want you to tickle their ear. But I'll tell you once again, I don't tickle ears. I don't even think I'm capable of it. Just the sound of my voice, it should let you know that it's impossible for me to do that. No, what I do is I do a spinning roundhouse drop kick to your ear. That's what you'll get. Because I love you. Because I love the Most High. Because I want the truth, and I want to bring the increase. I want to do more than what I've been asked to do. I don't want to get in the boat and go the other way and get swallowed by a whale. I want to go running into the crossfire. I'm here to do the work, suited and booted, sleeves rolled up, ground and pound, baby. Get you some. Shabbat shalom.